right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. I'm Alex.
I'm Andrew.
And how's everybody doing out there tonight? Let's get right into it. We've got some sad news from up in Oakland. The University of Pittsburgh gives away a bye game.
It's going to be – I will be amazed if they win a single ACC game. And we already said this a couple of weeks ago.
We figured they'd be last.
Yeah, we figured they'd be last. They're going to be battling out against Boston College. But worse than I expected. And you obviously have a lot of guys out right now. We talked about on the last show about how one of their key returners is out on an ACL. They have a returner or a transfer from Texas Tech who didn't play that last game against the Citadel because he's out on an injury.
And then had a player get arrested as well.
So. End of the day, you are still an ACC team.
You got to
get
past
playing
the Citadel.
Game at home against the Citadel.
Yeah,
and it's unacceptable. And if it continues, I know I said I'm usually a person that likes 5 years for a college coach, but if this season goes the way it's looking like it's going to go, he has to be done. Now, the only problem is you have an AD in Heather Lyke who just seems to keep people around for whatever reason, even when they're not getting the job done, and you're already paying the previous coach a lot of money because you bought him out. So then you would be paying 3 coaches, 2 you have to buy out, and the 3rd coach. And I don't really know if Pitt wants to do that.
Well, that's where you run into the question of, do you just let him run out his contract for another year, right?
He's got one. I
think it was 5. I think he's got one more year.
I'm trying to figure out what his contract.
Either way, I think this loss is an indictment of however long he's got left is irrelevant. They
have him under contract. They gave him an extension last year.
Oh my gosh.
They have him under contract to 26-27.
Oh no.
So this is the type of crap that I talk about with Heather Lyke not knowing how to do her job. Who would give somebody an extension who's done nothing? They're 15-38 in conference under him. He's done nothing. If anything, I'm seeing a lot of people. I've been reading Chris Peak and Panther Lair. A lot of people are thinking that they're probably in a worse situation now than they were previously, and it's not getting any better.
No, and their results continue to get worse. I mean, overall, and they're off to a bad start this year. I think the roster's pretty thin. And now with those couple of guys who are out for a host of different reasons, you saw the lack of depth last night that, the way they performed, it was like Citadel was playing a D3 school.
You'll love this. So they gave this contract extension at the beginning of January last year, 2020, okay? So I guess technically it was 2 years ago they did this. They were sitting at 10-4 overall and 1-2 in ACC play currently. Now, here's what the AD said.
They finished the conference schedule with a losing record that year, like 2-1.
Yeah. So here's what the AD says at that time. In a short time, I've seen Coach Capel and his staff provide Pitt basketball with an opportunity to succeed at the highest level because of their work ethic, basketball acumen, and belief in building the program the right way with the right people, said Director of Athletics Heather Lyke. Quote, "What has impressed me most with Coach Capel is the genuine relationships he's developed with our student athletes and his staff's ability to make our student athletes better players and people. These relationships are an early indicator of the long-term success they will have together." Well, if I remember correctly, they've had like 3 or 4 guys get arrested, 2 assaulting police officers.
That's what just happened.
Multiple guys transfer out of the program. I think I saw a stat the other day, like the 5 guys that transferred out of the program all scored in double digits at more established programs, like Arkansas and stuff.
Yeah.
He got to go. I mean, he has to go.
They're going to lose tomorrow.
They're not beating WVU.
They're not beating them down there.
They might not even. It might be a 30-point game.
Yeah, they're going to be in big trouble tomorrow. And if you look at the rest of their non-conference schedule, there could be there could be like 4 or 5 more losses in there because they got Vanderbilt, they play Minnesota, they got St. John's. There could be 4 or 5 more losses in there that
they could lose to Colgate.
Yeah.
They're definitely St. John's. I look at any of these teams. A lot of times you say, oh, Jacksonville or Monmouth or
listen, Monmouth played Charlotte tough in their opener.
That's what I'm saying.
They could lose to Monmouth.
That's what I'm saying. Those would all be those games where you go, I'm not going to go down to the Peterson. It's going to be a blowout. Nope.
They'll
lose. Be a game.
Yeah,
I was laughing. I saw Pitt advertising tickets on social media the other day on Facebook, and season ticket packages available. Get them now. I'm like, I said, you guys are going to be lucky to get 4,000 people at a basketball game.
Yeah.
What's the big game they're going to have this year? Is it going to be Duke or Carolina?
Let's see who's coming in this year.
They don't play Carolina here. They play Duke on March the 1st.
Yeah, so Duke at the end of the season, too. I mean, the only reason it will be full is because it's Krzyzewski's farewell tour.
Well, it's Duke.
It's Duke. Like, it will be full because it's Duke, but everybody's going to be there to watch them get clobbered.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
they're gonna finish. They're gonna unless there's a miracle, they're gonna finish bottom of the ACC.
I honestly don't.
They have to clip BC
anybody
twice
on this schedule. I don't even think they'll beat Boston College. I don't see anybody on this schedule. ACC. Now they play Boston College twice, so that might be a toss. Maybe they get one there, but they're not beating Notre Dame.
No,
they're not going to beat Louisville. They're not beating Syracuse. They might be a single-digit win team this year.
I think it's not out of the question. That's what I was going to say. Do you think that this team goes, maybe 7-23 this year? And potentially winless in the ACC? Because after that performance the other night, I don't see them winning an ACC game.
Well, I mean, who's coming back to be the savior in the lineup?
There's nobody.
Really the only person that they have coming back, we already talked about, was the transfer from Texas Tech. And
sounds like he's not playing tomorrow either. It's like they say like day to day. Right? Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I doubt 2 days turnaround he's going to play. So, yeah, and Pitt, I think Pitt's a difficult job right now. Because you don't have a ton of talent coming out of here in this region right now. And I think, Jamie Dixon was able to get guys every now and then who were from here to stick around. And then he had a very good pipeline in the Philadelphia and New Jersey that they don't seem to have right now.
No.
And and they're not reaching up to Cleveland, where there's a lot of elite ball players, or Akron. They can't seem to get into Ohio, so they're kind of left with these scraps.
I said we're talking about Burton from Texas Tech. I mean, he played on a good Texas Tech squad last year, but I mean, he only averaged 4 games.
It's not a game,
and that was as I want to say as a senior, because I think all these kids are seniors this year. So it wasn't like he was putting up massive numbers. He played in a good conference. He was serviceable, 40% from the field, but he's not going to be the savior.
No.
And the other thing is, and you talked about it. I believe you were talking about Jeffers. Jeffers was supposedly like a big time.
He should be a freshman this year. I don't know who talked him into leaving early, but he skipped his senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And he was set to go his senior year, which would have been last year. He was set to transfer to prep. And he would have played with, like, so his senior year, he was going to go Cathedral Prep. And he was going to play with Horton.
Well, let me give you some
and
stats.
They got him to enroll
on
early.
The first game, okay?
Yeah.
He played 33 minutes. He was 1 of 10 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. He had 7 boards and 4 points.
And this is a guy who,
and that's
again,
four or 5-star recruit. I think we were talking. I could be wrong, but I remember somebody saying that
top level recruit. I mean, and there was it was a big deal when they got him to commit, and again, figuring that he would be a freshman this season, be a guy who could come in and be an impact player. But now you're leaning on a kid who he has to be the guy now that they're going to go to say, hey, you're the big gun here. We got to get you the ball. And you got to be able to score.
He was a 4-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports. He was
6'7" guard.
128th. They have him down as a small forward.
Okay.
When he was coming out, 128th overall, 23rd. I guess they do have him at power forward at 20. It's kind of all over the place, but they have him down as like the 23rd rank, third in the entire state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so it was a major recruit for them to get.
Well, you can't get 5 points against the Citadel.
No. And
in your second year.
No.
And I'm not going after the kid. I mean, I want to see him successful. He's a local guy.
But from a coaching staff perspective, you need more.
Well, this is exactly what this is the conversation I am having with that kid as a coach. Like, my man, you're 1 of 10. I put you out there for 33 minutes.
I need you to
get me more. You have to get me 10 to 12.
Yeah.
In games like this.
Yeah.
And you have to hit 50% of your shots. So, we're talking about. I talked about the quote earlier about developing and all this type of stuff.
Yep.
I am not seeing that development at all. I'm not seeing these guys develop into, better players year in and year out. You had obviously Champagny, who came to Pitt, who had a good run. He's playing for the Raptors now.
Yep.
But when you have guys like that, you have to maximize those years when you have NBA players.
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of fell down the stretch even with Champagny then.
They did. And, I think that they got hit again right after the game. They had one recruit they had committed. It was I think it was the
only recruit
and
in the 22 class.
Decommitted.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him. That's it. If I'm the kid, if you're the kid's father, mother, and you're the kid, you're looking at this. Wait a minute. I'm committed to a school that just lost at home in a pay game by 20.
Right.
And wasn't close in.
Right.
And it's not like they lost a pay game by 2, where it's like, okay, maybe this team got hot. It's going to be a tournament team.
Here's the other thing. They lost a pay game last year to St. Francis.
Yeah.
So this is becoming a trend where Pitt's paying money to pay teams that they're supposed to get wins from, and they're losing.
Well, you know what? There were a dozen of them on opening night. There were a dozen pay games that didn't go in favor of the power school. I believe it was Virginia lost to Navy.
Virginia lost to Navy.
Yeah, so I mean, they knocked off a pay game 66-58. There were a handful, and Cal lost.
Something about the ACC is really supporting Veterans Day or something like that, because you got the Citadel,
Navy,
Virginia.
Yeah, the last thing you need is an Army win over one of them, and then you're in good shape. But yeah, there were a lot of teams that gave away pay games. Cal gave one away to UC San Diego. But listen, I think West Virginia, they got a win against the gritty Oakland team. I think they're going to be decent this year.
We'll see. You lost a lot in West Virginia. You lost the guys playing for the New York Knicks. Shibwe left midway through last year. He looked really good against Duke.
He did, yeah.
Still can't shoot the jumper at all, but super freak athletic and grabbing boards and really good on the post. He's an unbelievable rebounder. He's a guy that I think has a shot to play in the NBA just because of how athletic
he does. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I to me, Bob Huggins is as good as it gets, because he doesn't get the 5-star recruits year in and year out, and he's in it every single year. So if you gave Bob Huggins the guys that Krzyzewski gets or Roy Williams,
he'd be fantastic.
I mean, even Jim Boeheim, some of the guys he gets. That's why I think Bob Huggins is such a good coach, and he's he had Taz Sherman last year and some of these other guys, but he developed a lot of these guys into the players that they are. But I do think WVU is going to be a good program this year. I'm not as confident in them as I was last year yet. We'll see what happens as they go kind of through this non-conference. I think the Pitt game will say a lot. If Pitt can hang around with them, that's not good.
That's not good for WVU.
They need to blow them out.
Yeah, they do. I think the general consensus, if you were on Pittsburgh basketball Twitter, at least for those who kind of follow the college end of basketball over the opening 2 days of the season, is that Duquesne came on a little unexpected. Listen, they beat Ryder, but it's a young Dukes team that scored a pretty good win.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be. I think it's going to be a long season for them
Yeah.
in the conference because they're so young.
Right.
But listen, if they can at least make a little bit of noise in the non-conference schedule and keep it close when they play, DePaul and things, you take every win you get. Yeah.
I think any win you can get is obviously something you want, but. I mean, let's not get you're playing Ryder, so it's not like you're playing, Syracuse or even a Youngstown State or something that, Youngstown State was pretty tough yesterday against Penn State.
They were, they hung around. Yeah, they did.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's, here's the thing. I know you're not from around here, but did you ever get to go to the Palumbo Center before they
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm looking at the Cooper Fieldhouse. I'm going to have an opportunity to go down there in a couple of days for the Pitt and Duquesne women's game. We're going to take our team. But they did a great job. It's a beautiful renovation, but it looks a lot like the Palumbo Center.
Okay.
So, I kind of like that. Like, they didn't completely gut it and say, okay, we're going to start from – it was basically a massive – facelift of the Palumbo Center.
It needed it though. From everybody told me it was.
And
I
think it's going to help Duquesne a lot in the recruitment game. When you're recruiting, you get to go into that building now. It's fresh. They have the big screen TVs. They have the student section came out really strong against Ryder. So if they can keep that going, particularly when they get into A10 play, that's going to make an impact, and you're going to be able to land some good recruits.
Well, I think it'll make it a tough place to play again because listen, I went and watched them play at the hockey arena. When they were playing there the year before, before all the COVID stuff happened, and it was okay. I mean, there was big crowds for some of those games, like the Dayton game. There was like 9,000 or 10,000.
Yeah,
but it's half empty.
That's where you have the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's it.
It's not for Duquesne.
No,
game.
It's roped. They had cordoned off the upper deck, and the sound just kind of evaporates into that big cavernous arena. Playing at home, having a 5,000 seat arena full up, that'd be a nice thing for them.
That's really, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face, but the WPIAL needs to move back the WPIAL championships to the Cooper Fieldhouse.
They do.
It's terrible at the Peterson Event Center. It's an awful environment for high school basketball. Great environment for ACC basketball. Terrible environment
for high school.
You have the kids so far away from the teams. It's just not a conducive environment. And I don't care about sellouts. If you sell out, you sell out. The WPIAL needs to worry more about the environment and giving the kids an opportunity to play in front of a sold-out arena as they do making money. And that was kind of the deciding factor for them was, we got to make more money. If we're turning people away, we're not going to be able to, big deal. Sell it out.
Well, and in reality, for me, the way, you look at it, how many people are you really going to be turning away from a final?
Well, it's because Newcastle would bring the whole town.
Well, yeah, you're right. Well,
Newcastle's not in it every single year.
That's right. Listen, you could go to it, and that's because it's a 6A game doesn't mean you're going to get a huge crowd.
Right.
I mean, it was not, when Morton was a senior at Butler, it was probably the same thing. Right. Half of Butler County wanted to go to that game, but most of those games at the Palumbo Center are 25%, 30% full, which is still 3,000 or 4,000 people.
People don't want to hear this. Raise the prices for the games that are going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
If it's usually a game where you're not going to sell out, it's $5. If it's a game where you think
it's 8 or 9,
out, it's or 10, exactly. So you made up your profit margin,
Yeah, listen, I think that they should go back there. I think the City League final should be played there too because they've been playing up at Peterson Event Center for a few years, and I mean that to me is that's an even worse situation as far as crowd go. I mean, because the crowds for the City League are less than the WPIAL in general, and I watched a few of those games. I think when Alderdice, when Blaufeld was a senior, there were like 1,000 people in there. They were all from Squirrel Hill, and the rest of the arena,
16,000, 17,000,
was totally empty. Yeah, you'd be better off playing that game at Duquesne, where at least it'd look half full,
right?
And the atmosphere would be better. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for taking those games back to back to Duquesne.
And even if you wanted to do something, play at RMU.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, you've been there. It's a great facility.
Listen, I think they could, since they love doing the neutral site thing, which I don't necessarily like. I think at least until the final, you listen. If you're the number 1 seed, you should be playing at home in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It gets really, really shaky because you have teams now that are in really packed sections
Because you went to 6.
Yeah, so you could be in a section where it's a dogfight every night around Pittsburgh.
And you could have somebody in Washington County or Westmoreland County that doesn't play as tough. Yeah.
And they get the number 1 seed, and that team has to go out there to play.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that's always a fair shakeout.
Maybe you're right,
That's kind of my feeling. And that's kind of my feeling also on football, too. I like the neutral games because I feel like if you did enough to get into the playoffs, it should be a 50-50 thing in regards to where you play. Because if you're a better team, you're going to win on a neutral site. That's kind of my perspective from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, I think like the way I'm talking about is probably more from like a spectator's point of view. Is the idea that, but if you're going to go with neutral sites, I'd utilize both of those places during the Whitfield tournament. Maybe you have the semis in one gym and the finals in, because I think the kids would love it, and I'm sure the schools would have no problem hosting. Like if you told Robert Morris, like, hey, we're going to play the boys and girls semifinals here over the course of
they did
a few days.
Morton, when his senior year, they played a semi game. I think it was Upper St. Clair and Butler.
Yeah, it was up there.
Morris, so it was great.
I think it's a great idea. If you told them, hey, we're going to play 12 games here or whatever, 14 games here over the course of like 4 nights, and if they said that to Toole, he'd be like, even if I'm only recruiting 1 kid, if I get that kid because he played here, it's all worth it.
Yeah, I mean, so. We kind of wandered down the high school road, which we tend to do sometimes.
We do, yeah.
But to kind of summarize what we're talking about in this first segment, bringing it back to Pitt, we talked about high school, and if you're a basketball fan around Western Pennsylvania right now, that might be your best bet this year is high school basketball in regards to watching competitive teams because – we said it last show. I don't, Pitt's not going to have a good year, so we're not going to, mix any words about that.
Duquesne's too young.
Duquesne's young. They might win some that they shouldn't win, lose some that they, then that's going to happen. RMU still got a little work to do in regards to getting used to the Horizon League.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a down year for Pittsburgh collegiate basketball. You can get out and watch Jordan. I think they're 4-0 right now.
Yeah, they're 4-0. Yeah, I went down last night to Penn State Greater Allegheny. She played well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a very good team there, Point Park women.
I appreciate it.
I was very impressed. This is the results of his work there at Point Park University.
Grenick, he's, in my opinion, one of the best small college basketball coaches in the country, so he definitely knows how to coach those kids up. And another Point Park noteworthy thing, I think Point Park men are playing Akron.
They play Akron,
Akron almost beat Ohio State the other day. Ohio State, it took a buzzer beater for Ohio State to win. So that should be an interesting game. So
look, Coach Lewandowski's got a good program over there too.
He does a pretty good job.
Do a pretty good job.
The River States Conference on the men's side is pretty good. There's Rio Grande's always really good. West Virginia Tech, IU East. IU East is putting guys in professional level players, European. So there's some good ball players. In
Indiana basketball.
Yep, exactly.
That's that whole aura around Indiana basketball. But definitely get out and support Point Park and all these other small schools. There's a lot of them around here. Franciscan, La Roche. They lost to CMU yesterday.
103-102. So,
yeah, defense.
And Coach Carmichael's is usually a big defensive guy, so I was a little surprised with that score.
Got caught into a little bit of a run and gun game there, but so there's going to be some fun. You could go watch some good, D2, D3, and NAI basketball here in Western Pennsylvania too. So the Point Park women have a big game coming up next Tuesday. I'm going to head on up. They got WVU Tech at home.
Yeah, West Virginia Tech has been one of the top teams in that conference for a while. They did change coaches this year, but the guy they brought in is a good college coach. He's very experienced. They bring back 2 of the best players in the River States Conference, so it should be a good game. That should really be a battle of that division of the River States Conference.
Follow their Twitter and ours for location, still to be determined. So we're they as of last night, Jordan had said they don't know what gym that game's going to be played in. So her mom offered up Sarah Catholic, so.
All right.
Hey, wherever.
The problem is you don't have a shot clock or a 3-point line.
So that kind of rules that one out.
That's the problem with a lot of these places.
Yeah, so it's you got CCAC, CCBC, you got a couple options out there, but though they played the first game at Oakland.
Well, I think supposedly that's going to be the problem with Point Park is they don't have a home court.
They don't have a gym.
They have a practice gym, but it's not really big enough to host games. And in the past, they've been playing at CCAC. They used to play the one out in the North Hills, and then they moved over to the one in Allegheny.
It's like North Shore, I think.
North Shore. So, but I don't know if they just weren't able to book it this year with COVID and all these schools saying, "Oh, we're going to limit how many people come in and stuff." So they're kind of right now like in no man's land because they don't have a gym. I keep saying, and this is kind of the problem, is you have two NAIA teams in the city of Pittsburgh, in Carlo and Point Park. They should put their money together and figure out a place to build, a place of land somewhere and build the quote unquote NAIA sports center and have a couple of courts in there and share it because that makes a lot. They both need courts. Real estate's at a premium downtown, so build something outside of town, take the vans over, but at least you would have a facility where you can share and have a practice facility, whatever you need to do.
Plenty of room in those old mill towns.
Yeah, and really you don't use it for really anything other than basketball. They play volleyball at both respected schools on campus. So really what it's needed for is basketball.
Yeah. Quick before we do a break, Pitt football went down to Duke. Impressive win.
Yeah.
Did the job. 3 to go. Can they get
big one this evening? Should be coming on. What time? What time do we? It's coming on.
It'll be on as we're talking. Yeah. So it's that game's a 7:30 start.
Yeah.
So
I don't even have a score on that yet, but we'll figure out what the deal is on that. But yeah, I mean, North Carolina tonight is a massive game for Pitt. I kind of saw that as a circle game where you say, oh, man, that this could be an Achilles heel. Obviously, that's already happened with Western Michigan and Miami. But, Pitt still kind of controls their own destiny. If they can get Carolina tonight, who knows? They still have a shot at the Coastal Division. Wake Forest went down on the other side. They could probably meet up those two teams in the championship, which would be a total shootout because
no defense,
terrible
on defense. Yeah.
So it kind of stinks we don't have the truth on today because I'm sure he would have plenty to say about. He's probably broadcasting the game tonight. I don't know if he is or not.
I think the Truth's going to be very busy. He's probably doing it. Yeah, I imagine Truth's doing.
Did you see the Truth the other day with his football helmet?
I did. He gave us a big shout out. It was wonderful. I love
the Truth.
I love going on check out the Truth on his YouTube, and we link him through our Facebook stream as well. And yeah, he's hilarious when he does those games. Yeah. I love him, man.
He's entertaining.
But he knows what he's doing.
But he's actually very good. I enjoy listening to his calls better than I do a lot of the people on ESPN and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, at
least he knows that he has a good voice. He knows what's going on, and I like that he inserts his fandom into the broadcast.
Oh, it makes it fun. Yeah, I imagine he's probably doing Pitt, Carolina tonight.
Yep.
He'll probably do the USA Mexico World Cup qualifier tomorrow because that's his thing now. He jumps in for those, and then he's gonna do the Steelers on. We got to get him to start doing Pitt basketball.
I agree. That would be interesting.
That would be really interesting. He'd be screaming for Capel's head in about 5 minutes. Like, what is this slop that we're watching?
Yeah, I want to see what he's. I haven't really got his takes on basketball yet.
So. I don't know if he really does basketball. I know he does football. He does some hockey every now and then. If it's a big soccer game, he's done it. I don't know if he really does basketball. But maybe there's not enough traction for Joey the Truth basketball
streams. Speaking of traction, I have to mention this. You kind of gave me a segue right there, but we're happy to welcome a new sponsor. Me and you are doing some work with Spritz.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Traction. So if you are a volleyball program, travel program, AAU program, club program, if you have a high school or college or youth program, basketball, volleyball, if you're on a court, really, it's what it comes down to. This is a fantastic product that I have personally used. We're investing in it because I believe in the product so much at the high school that I'm coaching at. It basically, I remember a lot of people remember the old, you had the pad and you pulled the thing off the top and it was sticky on top. Well, this is a little bit different. Grip Spritz actually sprays to your feet. You can get a little bottle and spray it on your feet. It's almost like hairspray, if you remember that feel.
Yeah.
Or they have a pad where you put the liquid down into the pad and your players step on top of it, and it gives you an unbelievable grip on the floor. I've worked out in really crappy gyms with like old floors that need redone, and I've taken this stuff with professional players, and they love this product. And it's affordable. They're based out of Cleveland, Ohio, so they're a local company, mom and pop type company, and we're really excited to start partnering with them and featuring them here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report.
Well, I think everybody, if you're a basketball player, or you're a volleyball player, you're a parent of one, and you played the game, you know what benefit that brings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Grip is everything. And it drives me nuts. I hate seeing kids always swiping at their shoes.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah, where they're doing they're reaching behind them.
Touching their face and stuff. And this is before COVID, and it's just so dirty. You're getting
It is.
all much crap. Get some Grip Spritz. Keep your shoes clean. Stop reaching back to your shoes and getting dirt and everything on there, and go at it. And we'll be putting up a link, and you'll be finding out more about this product as they partner with us. But great product. We're happy to have another sponsor on board with Three Rivers Broadcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to be a sponsor, visit us online, threeriversbroadcasting.com, or you can reach out to Coach or myself on the Twitter, either our personal ones or through the station Twitter, and we'll get back in touch with you. Let's take a quick pause for the cause. We'll thank some of our fine sponsors here, and then we'll come back, talk a little bit about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Let's do it.
Are you looking for a job that can turn into a career? If so, why don't you hit the road with Waste Management? Waste Management is hiring experienced and entry-level CDL truck drivers and technicians. If you're at least 18 years of age, come join our growing team and get up to a $7,000 sign-on bonus based on experience. WM offers competitive pay and industry-leading benefits, including tuition reimbursement for yourself and dependents. Start your tomorrow today. Visit WM online at careers.wm.com. Protect yours and provide for others with the Polish Falcons of America. If you could get great life insurance and make an impact in your community, why wouldn't you? You can do both by choosing the Polish Falcons of America. The PFA provides life insurance and financial services while also giving back to the people we serve by reinvesting our profits into communities. If you're thinking about life insurance, it's time to think differently. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting polishfalcons.org. Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Ironworks, for when you need it, for 500 years. Are you an athlete looking to take your game and performance to the next level? Gym Rat Performance Training is where Pittsburgh's elite competitors go to train. We specialize in personal training, strength, speed, and agility training, sports-specific training, and we offer the best basketball player development in the City of Champions. If you are ready to transform your body, expand your mind, and reach your potential, it's time to join the Rat Pack at gymratpt.com. That's GYMRATPT.com. Gym Rat Performance Training, punishing Pittsburgh since 2016 because rats don't rest.
We're back here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. Coach Krzyzewski, I'm Alex. Great to be with everybody here. Nice opening segment. Talk about the woes of Pitt basketball and a little lighter topic as far as Pitt football.
Hey, if you're a Pitt basketball fan, I would encourage you every day, except when Alex goes to basketball games, to tune in at 5 o'clock to the Polka Drive at 5 for a little bit more cheerful music. Our chat's cheerful. If you have the opportunity to get on the VIP, I call it the VIP.
The VIP
site.
chat. That's right. You got to get on the Facebook.
On your Facebook.
That's right. You got to get on Facebook.
Yeah, our person in Fargo or where's
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Where's this chat at? And I said, well, you have to be friends with Alex to get on that VIP side. The other side isn't as good, but yeah, make sure you check it out. I will say we have probably one of the most complete, comprehensive ethnic music dynamics in all of Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think so.
With our programming.
We've got some big names here.
Yeah, and what's cool is we have a lot of people that overlap. They're sports fans, but they also appreciate a lot of the music that makes our region unique.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of cool seeing some of the folks that tune into Mikey D,
check out football,
Aaron Dusing, and then come in and check out the sports show. So, yeah, we love it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you go back and every now and then you get a comment dropped by, like Eileen. She's out, and I think she checks us out from, like, Minnesota or something like that. And it'll be a football game, and I'll go back after the game, and I'll see, 50 minutes into the broadcast. She's like, oh, we're listening to you tonight in the, wherever she lives. I think it's Arlington, Minnesota, somewhere outside of Minneapolis. But
Paul and Windsor.
Yeah, we got people not just from Pittsburgh. Now, about 90% of our hits are from Western Pennsylvania. And Youngstown, we have another bump that Mikey D brought us Youngstown. I'm convinced that Mikey D is the one. He brought us all the Serbs and Croatians in Youngstown.
Knock on wood, I think we're going to be knocking down some radio towers, as they say, in the Steubenville area, hopefully very soon.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully in the next.
Moving into that area, keep your eyes out. If you're in Steubenville, you like our show, tell people about it. But we're going to be doing some cool stuff in Steubenville coming up.
Yeah, we are coming to the Upper Ohio Valley. I like it out there. There's some nice towns out in that area, and they got some good sports too.
Yeah, they do. You're absolutely right.
Especially Steubenville football. They did get knocked out of the playoffs. But speaking of football, how about the Pittsburgh Steelers? We went from panic mode to maybe they don't stink so bad after all.
I don't know. I saw on Twitter that a win is a win is a win. Yeah.
I mean, they haven't been pretty wins, but they figured out how to get 4 in a row.
Here's the other thing. The AFC's terrible this year.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I'm not saying it's not, but they did win the games.
I agree, but my point is, you kind of, we've talked about this. You put yourself in a situation where, do you want to kind of tank and get a quarterback? Or do you think this year is so bad in the AFC, you already beat the team that's favored to win it all in the Bills? And I'm not sold on the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are still good, obviously. They were in back-to-back Super Bowls, winning one. But you might have a shot to make a little bit of a playoff run this year, but it's going to cost you
a draft pick.
Pick.
Yeah. I think, my guess is Roethlisberger is going to try to argue his way back. This guy doesn't seem like he's ready to quit anytime soon. And for me, do you trust that you could try to kind of transition to Mason Rudolph, or has he been written off that he's not a starting quarterback?
Well, I don't think so. I think the fans have written him off, but who cares what the fans think?
The only thing that matters is what Mike Tomlin thinks.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever Mike Tomlin thinks. But, this is the type of crap where you see time and time again with Coach Tomlin, or you get into these games with teams like the Bears. You're winning, you're cruising, and out of nowhere, here they come. To me, the guy who won that game was Chris Boswell.
Yeah, who was questionable.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
because of Mike Tomlin.
Because of Mike Tomlin.
He ran a fake field goal and got his punter destroyed, and it was out on concussion protocol. So they're a very odd team. They win games that they shouldn't win. They lose games that they shouldn't. They allow teams. I know they're all pro teams and everything, but they allow teams to stick around that shouldn't stick around when you should bury them. The offensive line is improving, but they got manhandled, I thought, against Chicago. I think Najee is actually an elite level running back. but he really still has no line.
The line has to come into its own.
It has to get better.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it in the preseason that there's big turnover. There's a big turnover the last 2 years on the offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, those guys that were there, like a Pouncey and them who were there for 10, 12 years, now you're kind of rebuilding at it. It's an interesting time. You have a young running back, a young line with an older quarterback. It just kind of lends itself to be problematic. Because you have let's face it, you have 5 guys, 6 guys trying to gel together with a quarterback who's used to having 4 seconds instead of 3 to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
Because and it's crazy to you talk about 1 second, but in the NFL, that 1 second is the difference between an incomplete pass and a 15-yard gain.
Well, I'm looking at the stats right now. Let's see here. I think Ben had said 21 of 30 for 205. Fields, who I think is going to be a star, the Bears quarterback.
Yes.
17 of 29, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now, here's what I'm talking about. You have Harris carried 22 times, and he only had 62 yards. If you have even a half competent offense,
he's over 100.
He's over 100 yards, 22 carries, and the way he runs, he's definitely over 100 yards. Now you're also finding out that it sounds like Claypool might be questionable for the next game. So
there's about 6 or 7 of them that are on that list. Roethlisberger's on the list.
Well, he's always on the
but
list.
I think
he's been on the list like for the past 10 years. He had everything, every possible injury you could think of. I don't know if he's diagnosed it or the team's diagnosed it, but he's always has some type of injury.
So here's what they had this was from the Post-Gazette, Ray Fittipaldo. Roethlisberger held out of Wednesday's practice, shoulder and pectoral injuries. Zach Ebron, hamstring, limited participant for Wednesday's walkthrough. Chase Claypool, MRI indicated Claypool avoided season-ending toe injury. That's from the NFL Network. So,
I saw somebody commenting on Twitter that, it was like, oh, Claypool's he might be out, or can it get any worse in the receiving core? And I'm thinking to myself, like, Ben only throws the ball down the field like 3 times a game. So, me and you could probably run routes for 3 yards. I mean, the way they've been running this offense. So I really don't think that the receivers really make all that much of a difference with how they're offensively their schematic is right now. It's not to really throw the ball down the field. No.
I think it's to just provide a little bit of balance and pressure off the running game.
Yeah.
And the running game is struggling, and so is the passing game.
Yeah.
But a lot of that ties into, I think, like we've talked about for 8 weeks now, young offensive line, quarterback who's not as mobile as he was 5-10 years ago, and you got a new rookie running back. The fullback in the NFL is non-existent anymore, so you have nobody. There's that extra blocker's not there. It's just a different kind of game and a different kind of team this year. They should still beat the Lions, who are winless.
Well, I got a question for you, and I know you're not a quote unquote. We're converting you into a Steeler fan, but
I'm in the process of.
Yeah. Or did you watch the defensive side of the ball during Chicago?
I honestly didn't watch the game.
Okay, well,
Sarah's family was in town, and it was just we were running all over the place, so I didn't watch it.
Here's kind of my takeaway, and a lot of people are commenting about this. The Steelers drafted in 2019 Devin Bush,
okay,
number 10 overall. They traded up to get him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So far this season, he has 20 solo tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Now, this guy was the number 10 overall pick. He hardly played at all last year because of an injury. They even pointed out during the game, like, they're running play action. He's going one way. The receiver and everybody's going. If he doesn't get much better,
he's out.
Well, he's become a bust.
Yeah.
You're really seeing a guy that they anticipated in a lot of ways to probably take over for Ryan Shazier, that type of hybrid.
And be that 10-tackle-a-game guy.
I'm not seeing it. He gets blown up. He doesn't know where he's at half the time. I just don't see a guy who warrants the number 10 overall pick and trade up to get him. He should be competing every single year to be
All pro. Yeah.
And he's not even close to that. I was thinking you have a guy like him and TJ Watt.
You have a solid.
And Minkah Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward.
You're in a good spot.
He's not doing it, man.
No.
He's not doing it.
No, I didn't realize. I remember they picked him, but I haven't tracked his stats.
Yep.
Because again, I'm converting to being a Steelers fan. They're moving me over, and then I always tend to find some other type of distraction on a Sunday. It seems like if it's nice because we live in Western Pennsylvania, I always tell Sarah, I'm like let's go to the Montour Trail. It's a sunny day. Like winter is coming, and we're gonna hide. But
okay, on let's see here. The Steelers traded their first round 20th and second round 59th picks in the 2019 draft and a third round 83rd pick in the 2020 draft to the Denver Broncos in exchange for the 10th overall pick. So they gave up 3 picks.
That's a lot to not have the return.
One in the first and one in the second. On 2019, the Steelers signed Bush to a fully guaranteed 4-year, $18.87 million contract.
They're stuck with him.
That includes a signing bonus of $11.74 million.
It almost sounds like, and this is from this is going to sound more fan perspective than some type of reporter or media perspective. That almost sounds like highway robbery to me.
Yeah,
honest to goodness. If that's his stat line. And he's a first round draft pick who got $30 million and he's only producing 3 tackles a game. That to me is highway robbery. And if next year goes the same way, you put him in the bust category. And the problem is you'll never reap. If you're the Steelers, you're not going to reap back the investment.
I mean, I'm reading now. He had 2021 played 7 games. He was injured for a couple. 2 sacks, 20 tackles.
Not good enough.
7 games.
He's got to be in the 100s then for tackles.
Well, let's put this into perspective. When we get, I read you those numbers. Now,
which is not.
This is a different position with T.J. Watt.
Right. You're going to face a little more action on the line than.
Okay, so this is T.J. Watt so far. I'm on Pro Football Reference.
And this is a guy who didn't play, and he didn't go through preseason.
Yeah, he's also played, it says 7 games here. What's the Steelers record right now?
5-3.
5-3, so 8 games. I don't know. Maybe they're not up to date yet on this.
It looks like he missed 1 game.
Oh, he missed a game. Okay, so 7.
He missed 1 game,
7 games. Says he has 11.5 sacks, 26 solo tackles, 3 forced fumbles. So
he's averaging like roughly 7 to 8 tackles a game.
Right. And you have to realize Watt gets double teamed almost all the time. He's an edge rusher. So every time he's coming off the side, he's coming at the quarterback. That's not really what Bush is being asked to do.
No. And Bush has the same number of tackles.
Which makes no sense to me because he's really in the second tier of the defense. He's not the guy coming out. He's a linebacker, but he covers a lot of the middle of the field. He's not an edge rusher.
He should have more.
Yeah, you're from
the run, defending the run.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it makes no sense to me at all. So yeah, I think he's becoming a bust.
Yeah, $30 million. I think if you looked at that in any sport and saw production numbers for a first round pick that were off what you were, kind of projecting for, he should probably be in the high 40s at this point.
You would think so.
Again, if you're
they're saying
facing the run,
site, they're saying he only has 18 solo tackles and 2 sacks.
Okay, so they've given him ESPN's credited him with 2 more tackles than the Steelers have.
7.
So
games,
you're talking 30
18 tackles.
Yeah,
it's like what?
3.
I don't know.
It's a
2 a game.
It's like 3 a game. It's less than 3 a game. It's like 2.6.
This is where we need the truth on, man.
He would know the math.
He would set us straight on. Are we too hard right now on Devin Bush? Or?
He might. Truth might take offense to this. Yeah, he might come to his defense and say, well, he's producing at the same level as T.J. Watt right now. But it's a different type of position, and you can't argue that Cam Hayward's just swallowing everyone up.
Man, I'll tell you what, Cam Hayward's a heck of a player.
He is, though. No, I'm not saying he's, but it's not like Hayward's got 65 tackles.
Right.
He's got 40, which is probably where he should be for this time of the season. But Bush, he should probably be. He's the kind of guy who you would think would be in that 6, 7, 8 tackle a game range, if not higher, because of the run.
Yeah, and
it's not there. And Fitzpatrick's got a lot more. But again, if you're defending the pass, you're gonna make more plays. But I think if you want to kind of punchline it, T.J. Watt's worth the investment.
Oh, I think so.
And Devin Bush maybe not so much worth the investment. I'm going to start paying attention now when I watch the Steelers, especially on Sunday nights when we go to Sarah's Cousins for dinner. Big shout out to them, always cooking us a nice meal every Sunday night. They always got the Steelers on, so I'm going to pay attention this Sunday to how he does.
I'm on the NFL website. I'm seeing total tackles, solo tackles. On Cam Hayward, okay?
ESPN says he's at 42, I believe.
Okay, I'm on NFL. It's amazing how all these different places are different.
Right. I would trust the NFL stats, NFL
that's
website.
What I'm saying. So
yeah.
I'm seeing Cam Hayward right now. It's saying this year he's played 8 games. It says he has 36 total tackles and 19 solo. Now, to put this into perspective, last year, in 15 games, it says he had 49 total tackles and 25 total. He's off 6 off of his total last year of solo tackles, with about
half the season.
Yeah, he still has 6.
9 games.
He has 9 games to go.
Yeah.
So this guy's just destroying people, and you talk about. There's guys that are really earning their paycheck on the Steelers defense, and there's guys that are not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's safe. It's safe to say. Looking ahead to the weekend again, hopefully Claypool is healthy, and you need him as a downfield target for when you do throw the ball. And then for Roethlisberger, well, if he's he's got a different injury every week. But when you have a 40-year-old quarterback and no offensive line, he's probably going to have a different injury every week. Yep. It's not like Tom Brady, who's got a quality line down there.
I think Ben's kind of at the for right or for wrong, he might be at the juncture in his career where he feels like he can just show up to the games and play.
Yeah, yeah. The next thing he's going to want to do is play linebacker.
There you go.
He's going to turn it. It's going to be like Chuck Bednarik. He's going to be like, I'll play offense. I'll even play the quarterback position. Then I'm going to play middle linebacker. Yeah, I actually knew him.
Who's that?
Chuck Bednarik.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he lived in Bethlehem his whole life. He had never left. Even when he was playing, he played for the Eagles, so he stayed there, and he used to listen to the radio station that I ran, and he was friends with the guy who owned it, and he used to call us every day.
Died in 2015.
He was I tell you, he was a great guy. He had great stories too about.
I believe it. He was a hell of a player. I'm looking up, 2-time NFL champion, 10-time first team All Pro. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
There were I had gotten to talk to him several times, on a personal level up at polka dances at Timmer's Dance Hall, and his handshake, even when he was 75, was the firmest handshake in the world. But his hands. From because back in the 50s they didn't really set bones like they do now or perform those surgeries. His fingers were all mangled from being broken and stuff like that.
Here's what a lot of people don't realize about guys like him. He was a B-24 gunner.
Yeah,
and he was a hero.
Absolutely,
a legitimate hero. He flew over 30-40 missions over in Germany.
Yeah. Came back and was a superstar.
Yeah, and then you know what? I got done, doing that. Now I'm gonna play some football. You can't make this stuff up. And this is and these guys weren't making millions of dollars. Most of them were working part-time jobs on the side to play football.
He painted houses in the off season. Yeah, he had a painting business, and I think they did some construction as well. In the Lehigh Valley when he was in the off season, because he was getting paid. I forget what they had said his biggest contract, and it was a lot for that time period. It was $50,000-$60,000, which was equivalent today probably a couple $1 million when the average household was making $5,000. But Chuck, and I always felt like I loved him, but I always felt like he was a little sore about how much guys were making
I would be
today
too.
versus how much sacrifice those guys
would
went
be too.
through.
Yep.
And we had him on an interview one time, and I swear my heart dropped because he starts talking and he goes, and these guys out there today, they play, and he paused in between saying the word. He said pussycat football,
Yeah.
and we were sitting there, we're like, oh, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Like this is a $20,000 fine that Chuck Bednarik is not gonna pay and then he finished saying it, and we were like, oh God.
Yeah.
And afterwards, like Joe turns to him, he goes, you had to stop yourself, didn't you? He's like, yes, I did. We're like, oh, this is going to be bad. But, oh, yeah, I tell you, he was a great guy. But, yeah, speaking of, like, two-way player, he was the last of the two-way guys. But, I don't think you could ever see that again. I guess I don't know. He wasn't the last one because didn't Deion Sanders do a couple of different things?
Yeah, he played baseball.
He played baseball, and then like when he played in the he play like D-back, return some kicks. Like he played a couple of different positions.
Yeah,
too,
I mean, obviously Cordell Stewart played
different positions.
Yeah, so, you had guys that have done it, but. Not like it used to
Not like
be.
those old guys.
Yeah.
No, they were different. They were a different breed. He went to church every morning too before he'd go to practice. He would get up.
If you saw what he saw in Germany, as a tail gunner, and most of those guys were very faithful men after that.
Yeah, they said every morning he would get up at like 5 o'clock. He'd go to St. Cyril and Methodius, get in his car, drive down to Philadelphia.
I believe it.
So I was every day, and his meal prep was crazy too. He'd eat like 6 eggs and a steak before he'd leave his house every morning. But I guess that was pre like nutrition shakes. Like eggs were the nutrition shake back then.
Like Charles Atlas style.
That's it. Yeah, listen, it worked from those guys all lived into their 90s.
Yeah,
so
he was 89.
Yeah, it all worked out for them, and he was strong all the way in the end too. Like he was a big dude. But what do we got left here? We got a couple minutes where we could probably talk like 5 minutes. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they're shorthanded. They're playing close, but they've lost 5 out of 6. Playing against the Panthers right now. Don't have a score, but again, you got to give them some time. They're a little older. They're banged up. They're in last place, but you got to remember, Crosby's still out. They got another, player. Who is it? Pedersen went into COVID protocol yesterday.
Well, at the end of the day, and I know we're towards the end of the show here, but to kind of summarize where the Penguins are at, Jari got to win. You got to win shootout games.
Have to. And
they get in the shootouts. They're undermanned. They have injuries. They have COVID.
Goalie has to step up.
You got to steal games for your team. And they blew it against the Blackhawks. They came back, tied it at 2. They get into the shootout, they lose. The game beforehand, they get into the shootout, they lose. If you're going to be a elite level goaltender at the NHL level and you're making big bucks, your team needs to be able to rely on you to win. Shootouts are part of the game now, so you have to be able to
win them. Yeah, the days of the tie are over, so you have to get the extra point now in the shootout. And maybe is this where the truth said? Is Jari good enough to be the starting goalkeeper? Is he good enough to be the netminder for the Pittsburgh Penguins? And I think
keep saying that, and no one wants to listen, but he is not good enough. He's a good backup. He's not. He's proven. I don't think he's a very reliable starting goaltender. I mean, his numbers right now are decent, but if you want to compete at a level that is on par to winning the Stanley Cup,
you need somebody better.
Particularly when you have older players and you're not a big-time scoring team, you got to have an elite-level goalie, and I don't think he's it.
Well, I think you had mentioned it a couple of weeks ago when we were here. It was like the Devils in the 90s. They weren't the best offensive team, but they had the best goalie.
Yeah, right.
And a couple of good defenders, and that was all they needed. So it was a pretty good show. By the way, very quickly, it broke this morning. The MAC is not expanding. They were debating taking up some of those Conference USA leftovers as the division fell apart and all of that. And I think they've decided that they're going to hold steady where they're at.
Division I conference, not
it is.
Like the super, like the SEC and stuff like that. So good.
Personally, I think Marshall should have went back there. But,
where are they at now?
Oh, they went to. Are they in the Sun Belt now? They're leaving the Conference USA is imploding, so I believe they're going to the Sun Belt. We don't have any MAC teams in our area, but I get the Akron and Kent are the closest ones.
Point Park will be playing.
Point Park will be
Akron
playing them.
here, so.
And this broke today as well. UConn hires ex-UCLA coach Jim Mora to rebuild the program. The Huskies are 1-8 this year. That's the very difficult place to recruit to for football.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No natural recruiting base in New England. High school football in New England isn't. It's not good.
No.
It is not good at all. So you're going to have to get into New York City and New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania, and good luck, because now you're going to have to fly Rutgers and Syracuse for those kids.
UConn football was always a bad idea, and he's not going to do much better, in my opinion. So he'll get a paycheck, and I'm sure why he's going.
That's why you're going. Yeah. And personally, I think UConn and UMass made a mistake going to Division 1A football. Now, UConn played as an independent for a long time and did okay because they would just kind of bounce around every year, and they'd play, Army, Western Kentucky, Troy, all those kind of lower level D1 schools. I think they should both probably have stayed 1AA, played in the Colonial Athletic Association. Yeah. Geographically would have made sense. New Hampshire, Maine, Delaware, Stony Brook, Rhode Island. Competition-wise, too. That's probably where they're at. They're probably middling Colonial programs right now. Like they're not
Robert Morris or,
they wouldn't be an elite Colonial program because I think James Madison and Villanova would clean their clocks. Yeah. But, good luck to him. He's going to get paid very handsomely. They tried to bring Randy Edsall back to hope that he could kind of recreate the magic. It's like Rutgers with Schiano. When you try to do that and it's 15 years down the road, all the relationships, I had mentioned this 2 weeks ago, all the relationships are gone. The high school coaches are different, the kids are different, the parents are different, and by the time you rebuild at whatever schools, it's you're 5 years in and you're out the door. But listen, wish them well, and I think that's about it for the show. I figured we should throw it out there because it was a breaking news for today. But good sports show. We'll be back next week. We've got one more football show. I think this is going to be the last one because we're going to be getting into and it's semifinals next week of the WPIAL, so you're only going to get like 10 games.
Yeah.
Probably go cover games, and we have Alderdice next Friday night.
Okay.
So we'll have that game. We're not doing Westinghouse this week. The fees were a little too steep for us.
I think it's pathetic that any place would charge the primary broadcasting of a district. Three Rivers Broadcasting by and large is the primary.
Well, I think this came from outside of District 8.
What do you mean?
This came from the PI. I think this is from the PIAA.
But that's what I'm saying. It's pathetic. Like how are people in the district supposed to get coverage of their team?
Well,
that's like basically you're the coverage guy for that team. Oh, we're going to charge you to come cover your own team. That's ridiculous.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, and I get it that they feel. Well, if someone broadcasts the game live, radio or TV, whatever it is, it hurts the attendance. I have done this for almost 20 years now, and I can tell you that, and I know that there are people out there that disagree, including Billy from Pennsylvania Football News.
I've been a coach for years.
It does
not hurt attendance.
It does not hurt attendance.
If I decide I'm going to go to a game, I will go to the game.
100%.
If I am not going to go to the game and listen to the radio, I'm going to listen to it on the radio. End of discussion.
The only time you get a bump is if it rains or snows.
Yes.
And I can tell you, we did get a bump for the City League final. There were probably 1,500 to 2,000 people that didn't go because I saw the difference.
Yep.
I know what we're getting for football games. We're usually in that 3,500 to 4,500 range. It was higher than that. And I was like, okay, well, it rained, it was freezing, and then it poured right after the game.
Well, is Billy an attendance expert or something?
No, listen. Yeah, I understand their point of view. Like, they need to try to make some money, too, as a district, but sell sponsorships. You got to sell sponsorships as the district. You get the hospitals and stuff to be your partners, and you generate revenue that way.
The same thing that every college does. You're allowed to have a home broadcast and an away broadcast.
Yeah,
that's how it is. That's how it always should be. When you start adding extra entities, they can pay for that. But your home broadcast and your away broadcast, there is no football, there is no games without those teams. And if those teams have a broadcaster, that broadcaster should be allowed to cover their own team.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too, like I've said, I've covered major high school I know we're doing the City League now, but I have covered major high school football in the Lehigh Valley for 15 years. We were at every single Bethlehem Liberty, Bethlehem Freedom game live. Two cable companies, 2 radio stations, and like 8 newspapers.
Yeah.
It didn't make one bit of difference. There was still 20,000 people at that game. Every year, it's on the last Saturday. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. Moravian plays Muhlenberg at the same time. Nobody goes to that game. They all go to a high school game. And never did that hurt attendance. We've done Easton games. We did Parkland games where it didn't make a bump a difference. Everybody still showed up to the game. The only people that was for was for the folks who were really elderly. At that point, again, if you're in your car or you're working or you're elderly, that's who that's for later in the year. But as far as this game, again, I don't want to bash on the PIAA too hard or the district out there, but the idea of, listen, saying, it's going to hurt attendance. Well, there aren't going to be that many people that call from Westinghouse to begin with. Right. It's a 2-hour drive.
And they should have access to listening to the game. With the same people that have been covering the game all year. Their games all year.
And if it was reasonable, if it was a reasonable number, if they came to us and said it's $50, I would have paid it. Yeah. I would have just went into my pocket and said, here you go. Yeah. But that's all right. But listen, we wish Westinghouse the best. We wish University Prep the best. Yep. They beat Du Bois last week. They played Juniata County this week. Winnable game. Juniata is 9-2. The one time they stepped up, Steelton freight trained them. It was 40-0. So University Prep, I said this last week, they had the best player on the field, and Murray was going to decide the game. They won. He's going to be the best player on the field again this week. He can decide the game. And Westinghouse, I said this to Coach Green. Everybody down there was saying, Winbur's undefeated. They're rolling these teams, this and that. Winbur hasn't played a team nearly as good as anyone that Westinghouse played this year. And I know Westinghouse had that game with Kirtland get canceled, which would have been the marquee showcase, but Winbur hasn't played Tamir Robinson. Winbur hasn't played Alderdice twice. That has 6 or 7 kids now that are seniors that have Division II scholarship offers from West Virginia, the PSAC, these other schools. I like the chances of both University and Westinghouse coming into tomorrow night's games. Don't be surprised if one or both of them win those games tomorrow. They are in a position where they can score win. Alderdice is going to face a little tougher task, but with that new offense that Coach Hazlitt's rolling out, all bets are off next week. So we wish all the City League teams the best. I'm going to try to cover a Whippeal game tomorrow night. I may actually just call Mount Lebanon, because it's right here. And if I'm going to do the show afterwards anyway, one more time. They play North Al, so maybe I'll just come over go over to watch Lebo, North Al, and it'll be good to catch up with kind of the family up there too. So
yeah, sounds good. Let's conclude today with thanking our fine sponsors: the Garden Market Report, Jim Rat Performance Training, Lawrence Repair, Pennsylvania Football News, Steel City Grease Traps, Carnegie Ironworks, Mother of Mercy Academy, Waste Management, the Polish Falcons of America, Quick Trip IV, and our newest sponsor. We just talked about them earlier in the show, Grip Spritz, and we will have more information on there. So great show today.
Yeah.
We hope everybody enjoyed tuning in. And again, tune in tomorrow. Are you going to have the Polka Drive tomorrow?
If we're not broadcasting a game, I'll do it. Especially if I'm going to just go to Lebo.
Okay, so
we'll do 5 to 6 because I could walk to Lebo from here if I wanted to.
And then we'll have football coverage.
Yeah, we'll have football coverage, and make sure you get out on Tuesday. I hope we see it wherever the game is for Point Park. I hope I see you all out there. Have a great week, everybody.